This is interesting and tricky. We don't have a good baseline because the guy who collected most of the Aplomado Falcon specimens north of Mexico may have collected them in Mexico and passed them off as being from the United States. I'm sure some of them came from the United States, but I don't know how many. His peers accused him of doing that. And one thing I pointed out way back is that the egg sets he collected are essentially all 4-egg clutches. And 4-egg clutches are relatively rare in the wild. The typical clutch size is 3. And if you look at the eggs collected by other collectors, they're singles and doubles and, 3 eggs. And field studies that have been done in the last 20 years have documented a few 4-egg clutches. But it's pretty apparent that he would have clients order some Aplomado Falcon eggs, and he'd just bundle up 4 eggs, send them off to the person, and take their money. And that's perhaps indicative that he was doing a little data fakery. And there might be some ways to figure out what percentage of those came from the United States, but it kind of clouds the issue of how common they were. Now, it's pretty apparent that at specific sites like the Palo Alto Prairie between Port Isabel and Brownsville, they nested regularly there. That's an area where, J.C. Merrill reported that he was a physician there at Brownsville, who was also a collector. And some of the sites in New Mexico, it's pretty clear they're no longer present at those sites. But there were a sprinkling of sightings that persisted after, I guess, the last Texas nest site in the 1940s down near Edinburg. And then in New Mexico after the last historic site in 1952. And there's been a wild nesting pair there since 1952 in New Mexico. But and so my feeling now is that, well, they declined, but I don't really know how common they were before that. They're peripheral species right on the northern limit of the distribution. You expect them to be somewhat ephemeral because of that. It may be here in some years and not in other years. And so it makes it tricky saying they were, quote, common. It's not tricky to say they were here. It's just a little tricky to say they were common because you have to qualify that so well. And one thing that needs to happen, I guess, is determine where those eggs and those study skins actually came from, if that's possible at this stage. I mean, I could see maybe using some techniques like stable isotope analysis that might be useful in narrowing it down a little bit.